Welcome to the Matt Phillips Podcast. I am Matt Phillips, your sales leadership coach, mental toughness expert, and founder of Matt Phillips Coaching. We help sales managers and leaders make more money, save time, and become kick-ass leaders of their sales teams. And that's what we're here to talk about on this podcast. We are here to give you the tools and tactics to build a well-oiled sales machine and teach you the mental toughness skills so you can show up confident, focused, emotionally in control, and ready to energize your team. It's time to talk sales leadership and mental toughness. Let's get into today's episode. Well, welcome everyone to today's podcast. It is Matt, and so excited to be with you today, as I always am on these podcasts. And today I want to shift the way you think about a phrase, because it's critical. I think the words we use, they're so powerful, right? And we can use words for the good or for evil, however we choose to look at that. And, today is one of those things that it's a slight nuance in how we talk about this one topic, but I think it makes all the difference in the world. And it was this epiphany I had just about 2 weeks ago. And this epiphany I had that I've been sharing on all these one-on-one coaching calls, on the different group coaching calls we have in our online programs. And it's just resonated really well with every individual. And so I wanted to take time to share it with each and every one of you as well, because I think it's that important. And I was, chuckling, thinking about when I first introduced this on one of our group coaching calls, and we have these group coaching calls on Fridays, and individuals from a variety of different companies in what we call our high performance leadership program. And it's a leadership program built for individuals that are not in sales, right? So you might be in operations, accounting, finance, everything just but non-sales, right? And so we have a ton of fun in this program on these Friday calls. But every time I get on these calls, I will introduce a theme, something that I am hearing over and over and over again that I just know I have to share with these individuals, right? And it's often challenging them to think differently about a certain topic. And, truth be told, one of the reasons I love the group coaching calls, I love the one-on-one coaching that I do, is that I learn a tremendous amount, right? Obviously, I'm the coach, but every situation is an opportunity for me as a coach to learn and then take that and say, how do I help impact more people's lives? Because we all get in our own way. We all have things that are holding us back, or that confuse us, or that derail us. And again, I've never met one person to this day who doesn't have that. So it's our job, I believe, as leaders and coaches to take that, kind of package it, if you will, or figure out how we want to talk about it and share that. And that's what I'm going to do today. But I always joke because, again, we have the calls on Fridays, and I call it my soapbox Sunday moment. I'm like, man, I need to start recording this, having coaching calls on Sundays. I don't think anybody would show up on a Sunday, but I have my soapbox Sunday moment, and I'm going to give one of those to you right now. So here's the context behind it. And this is something I teach, right? I always teach people, like, you have to be comfortable asking for help. I think it's important, right? When I talk to especially young athletes, I try to shift their mindset to, like, asking for help is a sign of strength, not weakness. I mean, back in the day when I used to have to ask for help, sometimes I would, and a lot of times I wouldn't. There was this negative connotation with those words, like asking for help. I have to go ask my coach for help. And so when I have to go ask my coach for help, the self-talk going on in my head was, okay, something's wrong. And now I have to go ask for help. If I go ask for the help, the coach is going to see that I don't know what I'm doing, that I'm not as good as maybe he thinks, or maybe I'm not as good as I think that I am. And if I ask for that help, then the coach is going to be like, what in the world is wrong with this guy? Take away his playing time, cut him from the team. And all of a sudden I might homeless, living in a cardboard box on some street under a bridge. This is actually the self-talk that was going on, right? Maybe not the homeless part when I was in college, but it was this negative thing, like I was going to get cut for the team if I asked for help. And so one of the things I teach is, like, okay, we have to get over that and start asking for help. And, as I matured, I should say, in the game of baseball, especially, it's like I started to learn that it's okay to ask for help. And even when I look back, no regrets, mind you, but there were opportunities that I missed that I should have taken to ask for more help. But that aside, as I matured and got into corporate world and started my own business, like I've learned to ask for help. Case in point, this week, we are meeting with one of my coaches because I was talking to my wife about this, that I'm trying to come up with a new kind of framework or way to talk about this certain thing in my business. And I'm just struggling with it, trying to figure out like what are the words that, like, if I show them to you, you'd be like, oh my gosh, that's so interesting. And one of the things that I've realized in this business is that there's certain things I'm good at. There's certain things that I struggle with. Well, one of the things I struggle with is the kind of call it the marketing side, right? Of coming up with those fancy words and all that stuff. And so what I'm doing is actually setting a meeting. I'm finally asking for help, setting a meeting with one of my coaches because he's really good at that. So leveraging the resources that I have, knowing that it's not that I'm bad or a horrible person or anything like that. It's like, no, like, oh my gosh, I got all these great resources around me. And I wonder for you too, just on that note, I wonder if there's something that you need to reach out to someone that you have a resource there, but for some reason you're holding yourself back from asking. And I did it just this week. And actually on Sunday, I did this. I finally booked the meeting. So I was talking about all last week, talk. And then I finally like, geez Louise, Matt, come on, let's go. So I booked the meeting and I actually meet with him in a couple hours after recording this podcast. So I'm super excited about it, but maybe there's something for you that you need to ask. And I want to encourage you, like, go ask. It's okay. It's a sign of strength, not weakness. But let me take it further though, because this is what this Soapbox Sunday moment is about, of this epiphany that I had. I said, what if we looked at it differently? What if we, instead of asking for help, what if my job in leading people, because oftentimes as leaders, we're like, hey, if you need help with anything, just ask me. Ask me. I'm here for you. And then we have other people say that to us as well. And again, going back to that, asking for help, we have to overcome that. It's kind of that negative connotation to it. But what if we did this shift? What if I, as a leader, right, a sales team or not, what if I, as a leader, said, my job is to help you optimize everything that you do. So I want you to come to me with things that you want to optimize. And that's what we're going to dig into. Or as your leader, I'm going to be looking for areas where we can optimize the things that you do. Hey, everyone. Wanted to take a quick break from the podcast to tell you about a new cheat sheet that is available for you. Now, one thing we believe is that if you're going to be the most effective sales leader possible, you have to know your numbers. And there are all sorts of metrics that we can track, that we should track, that sometimes we feel like we should be tracking. And that's why we put together the sales metrics cheat sheet. It is a list of all the metrics that you should consider, ultimately taking that list and boiling it down to the key metrics that will make sure you are staying on track and give you indications when you are off, not only from a sales perspective, but from a leadership perspective as well. Head on over to mattphillipscoaching.com/metrics. Download that cheat sheet today so that you are that leader that knows their numbers inside and out. Now, back to the podcast. You see, it's that one simple shift that I think changes everything, right? It's from this negative connotation to a very positive, like, oh my gosh, like we're here to optimize everything that we're doing. And where this came up for me, it didn't just come out of the blue. It came out of a conversation that I had. And one of my mentors, and I think I've mentioned on this, I'm part of a mastermind group run by this amazing individual named James Wedmore. And James and I were actually having a conversation about this sales manager leadership program that we have. And we were talking about, how do we create a sales process to get people to know us, like us, trust us, right? And then ultimately join one of our programs, because when people join the programs, just like when they buy your products or services or utilize your skill set, they're better off for it, right? They see results from that. So we were talking about this, setting up this sales process of getting people in to transacting and selling and hopefully staying in our world a very, very long time. And the way that we were talking and laying it out is like there's different pieces of this process, right? So you start with, perhaps running a Facebook ad or this podcast, right? This is a way that you can get to know me. So it's one of those things. And then, how do we then take that and drive them to like, hey, if you're interested in, a free sales metrics cheat sheet as an example, right? A different way to get to know me. Because if you're a great leader, you have to know your numbers around their business, numbers about your people, numbers around leadership. And so I would tell you, go to mattphillipscoaching.com/metrics and you can sign up for that, right? So there's these different stages that we get to where ultimately we're pushing you towards joining the sales manager leadership program. That's what I hope. But he made this comment that really resonated with me. And this is where the epiphany came. He said, Matt, once we have this process set up, then this is where the fun starts, Matt. He goes, we can look at every single step and look at that and be like, how do we optimize each piece of that funnel, each piece of that process, and get the most out of it, squeeze the value out of it? Because he said, if we make one little tweak in just one of those steps, it could have this like exponential ripple effect on the business and on the impact that it's going to have on the people going through the different programs that are interacting with you. But that's where the fun is, if we look and figure out how to optimize. So instead of saying like, well, how do I help improve that step? It's like, how do I optimize that step? Or when I'm looking at a customer experience perspective, it's not like, well, what do they need help with? It's like, what are we going to optimize for them today? I mean, isn't that just a really simple yet powerful shift? For me, it is. When I think of asking for help, I take a step back. Like I physically, and if you're watching this on video, physically, like when I ask for help, I stand up and I go backwards. I don't know if that's just a natural human reaction or it's my brain protecting myself because I think something's wrong. But if I think of optimize, I lean in because that's what I want to do. And when I think about obviously the different programs and things that we set, and when I'm one-on-one coaching someone or in these group coaching programs, it's all about optimization. It's like looking at what you're doing and saying, how do we make it better? How do we take it to the next level? How do we squeeze that value out of it? So you as a leader, I want to plant this seed with you and give you this context and background, but I want to challenge you a little bit to maybe we shift our verbiage. And maybe from now on, instead of you saying, hey, you know what? If you need help with something, come ask me. Maybe you shift it to be like this word optimization. Let's optimize together. Let's look at your process, how you're talking, what you're doing, how you're showing up, your executive presence, your presentation skills, your knowledge of your CRM, your sales process, how we hire people, how we onboard people, the delivery of these things, right? All the operational stuff. How do we look at everything we're doing with this optimization mindset? Because that's fun and that's powerful and that makes me want to lean in. So I want you to take this topic today and put it to practice and see what it can do for you. And I was taking notes before this, like what different areas, I was just brainstorming, like how would we use this optimization mindset and how would it impact and shift our conversations, right? So when I thought about sales first, and again, my background's pretty unique. I was from audit and accounting to operations to business development in my career as I've, obviously started this business 11 plus years ago. But back when I was in sales, like one of the classic things that salespeople do and sales managers, well, I should say they don't do it, they avoid it, is working on your sales pitch, right? So doing these role plays and practicing. And every time someone in sales hears role play, at least people I interact with, they're like, oh, geez, like really? We're going to role play this? Like, you got to be kidding me. Like, I've been in sales. I know what I'm doing, all that sort of stuff. I don't need help with that. But again, what if we shift to the perspective of like, I get you've been in the business a long time. You're doing great things. You're closing sales, stuff like that. What if we optimized that step? And then what if we optimized the next step? And what if we keep having that optimization mindset throughout your career and every single year? And if one little shift, one little extra percent has this exponential ripple effect, people will do role plays. People will want to dive into their process and find better ways. Again, slight shift. So it's not just role playing for role playing's sake because we think you need help. It's about optimizing how you talk about it. We can always improve. We can always find these little nuances, these little tweaks. And I remember James Wedmore in his mastermind that I was part of, he shared that, he's got this one program that he runs around building a a sales page on a website, but also this one kind of calls Business by Design. And that's a super great program. I'm in it. I'm obviously as well. But he talks about how he took 8 months. It was like this constant optimization of the message around how to sell that thing. It took him 8 straight months to finally dial it in and get it to a point where it was like, oh my gosh, like it's so clear on how this benefits you, what's available here, that it just almost like sells itself. Obviously, lots of work behind the scenes to do that, but if he has that mindset, and that's what I absolutely love. So everything that you're doing, from hiring, firing, onboarding, your sales process, your delivery, your operations processes, little process improvements that you're putting in place, everything impacts this optimization mindset. Huge. So maybe we're not asking for help anymore. We are finding ways to optimize everything we're doing. That's my little soapbox Sunday moment for you on a Tuesday podcast, or whenever you happen to be listening to this. I don't know when you listen to it. Maybe you're listening to it on a Sunday, so it lines up perfectly. I don't know. I hope so. Certainly. So that's what I wanted to drop with you on today's podcast. I will invite you, if you are interested, because like I said before, knowing your numbers is super important, right? For both you, your sales team, everyone around you. So if you're interested, go sign up. Go to mattphillipscoaching.com/metrics. Sign up for that free sales metrics cheat sheet. Gives you a list of all the key metrics that you can kind of hone in on and get your people focused on as well. So go check that out. And if you want to really dive into kind of next level, right, and go deeper, we have put together a free training masterclass, and it's all around really dissecting what one of my clients did to triple his organic revenue growth in 12 months. So I want to make sure you go over to mattphillipscoaching.com/webinar, and you can check that out as well. So thank you so much for your time today, as always, and we will see you on the next podcast. Go crush the day. Thank you for joining us today on the Matt Phillips Podcast. If you are like us, we know that you are here to do great things, to become the sales leader that makes things happen and drives big time sales results. We know you have that big vision, and we are here to help get you where you want to go. We're here to help you develop that unstoppable, rock solid leadership skill set and help you train to master the one true differentiator: mental toughness. We would love to be part of your journey. So if you are ready, head over to mattphillipscoaching.com and check out the ways that we can help. As always, please share this episode and make sure you subscribe by clicking the button below. Thank you again. And now, go crush the day.